If you're in Sydney and you're a football fan, then you know that the NPL has kicked off for the season. And this weekend, I'm actually getting my first opportunity to do some live streaming with SportsCast Australia. That gave me an idea for today's video because I need to go through my kit bag for the games. I figured that that's an ideal opportunity to talk through some of the pieces of equipment if you are interested in doing some live streaming yourself. This is how we do it. What's up everybody, it's Shane here, waiting to be seen, and I want to welcome you to my channel. It is a channel that's aim is to help people do better video, and so I hope that today's video is going to be of use to you guys. Like I said at the top, I'm talking about streaming, live streaming, and I'm going to be going through my kit that I use with SportsCast Australia. It's certainly not the kind of kit that you would necessarily be using if you're planning to do your own kind of Twitch stream or Facebook live video or a YouTube live video. So if you're looking at this stuff and thinking, oh man, I need to have that kind of stuff. No, let me put your mind at ease. You don't actually have to have this level of kit. With that being said though, let's have a look at my kit. First thing, of course, we all need to have is a camera. For SportsCast Australia, we're actually using the Canon XA30. It is a little bit of an older camera and it is just an HD camera. There's a lot about this, even though it's old, it's still really good. It has XLR inputs, so if you are using microphones, you can plug those in and control them. If you're interested in this stuff, it has dual SD card recording, so it can record on two at the same time. Nice fail-safe, I really like that. If you're using the external viewfinder, the guys have got a little sun hood for it, which is very helpful. But if you've seen my previous videos, you've heard me talk about having an external monitor, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, in a pinch, sun hood over the little viewfinder certainly makes a big difference. That's the camera. You can use any camera pretty much to do live streaming. And basically this whole kit is sitting inside a Pelican type case because there's a lot of parts to it. And so if you're going to be taking your kit around to a number of locations, it's probably a good idea to consider having some kind of transport unit that's sturdy. The question then becomes, how do we go from getting footage out of the camera and into the live stream? That's where the more expensive elements of the SportsCast system come into play. We are actually using this. This is a brand called LiveU, and this is the Go Solo kit. This, I plug in a couple of internet options, and so the first internet option that we use is a Nighthawk, and so this is using Telstra 4G, and then I've got a second one of these here. This is just a, I think that's an Optus 4G dongle as well. And so it bonds both of those 4G signals together in the unit to then prepare to send that signal out to the internet. This one just plugs into the USB port here, whereas the Nighthawk actually plugs in via Ethernet cable into the side, and that's how we're able to have both of those running into the unit. For the average punter at home, you're probably not going to want to use one of these because they're still selling for about $2,600. For the average person, you're probably not going to want to have one of these, but there are definitely other options that are available, and I'll talk about that in a minute. In terms of getting footage from the camera to the unit though, we are using HDMI, and so there's a mini HDMI port in the camera, and then that plugs into HDMI port here. Of course, having a camera isn't enough. You need to stabilize it when you're doing live streaming. So the guys at SportsCast have also provided us with a tripod. Important part is that it has a fluid head, even though it's not a particularly well recognized brand. Personally, I'm using a Vinton, and if, again, that's a kind of an expensive model. So if you have the money, I think the three best tripod brands that you want to consider using is Vinton, Miller, or Manfrotto. They seem to be probably the best recognized. You can of course get something that's cheaper if you're going to do that. Because you're working with video, you have to consider getting a fluid head. That's really important. Of course, when you're on site and you are looking for power, some of the sites that I'm on have power. There's stands, which is really good, and so I use, at the very least, one of these. This is like a 20-meter extension lead. I will have power to the camera, to the LiveU, sometimes to the Nighthawk, and then external monitor. I talked about this in a previous video. This is my Lilliput A7. That's the actual unit. It has mains power. It also has battery power. This just slips on. Once it's on, that gives it a little bit of protection, which is good. And I talked about having the sun hood on before, but I don't think I actually showed you. And so this is the sun hood that comes with the unit. And remember, this piece of kit was only $280. So for an outdoor external monitor, it's actually really, really good value. I'm still convinced that there's very little out there at the moment that's going to give you better value for money, even though brightness wise it's not the best. You can see why I ended up going with this, right? Said it before, it really was a no-brainer going from that size to that size. This thing was worth every penny last season. It's going to be worth every penny for this season with the NPL again. Actually, while I'm also on the topic of the monitor, part of my kit is using a Manfrotto magic clamp. That's really, really good. And that actually comes with the articulating arm. What would I do with the monitor if I didn't have something for it to actually sit on? Do you actually need to have all of this kit yourself in order to do some manner of live stream? Well, the TLDR version to that is no. So what do? You can use your phone. That's going to give you a little bit of flexibility. You could use a laptop, which has an inbuilt HD camera, usually. So what can we do? The simplest answer is to have some manner of external card that's going to help you capture your camera's footage and interpret it in a way that will allow your computer to be able to use that. If I have an Elgato Camlink 4K, that is a $200 unit. It's not perfect because it isn't compatible with every single camera. They do have a list, and I'll link the list down below. So I would take the HDMI cable from my Sony, plug it into that unit, plug that into the USB, and all of a sudden my camera is accessible through the laptop. And that could be if I'm doing a live stream inside of something like OBS, or I could even open it up in, say, Premiere Pro. If you're going to be doing that kind of live streaming, then I'd also encourage you to consider having some kind of good audio to be able to connect with that. I'm using the Wireless Go. Look, I've got it in my pocket right here. That's it. I've got the number 3 on it because I actually have 3 of these units. And so you can have a good quality camera, you can have good quality audio. Those things, of course, are going to set you back a little bit of money, right? You can spend another $200 for a capture card that will allow you to stream in your laptop or in your desktop. The sky is then the limit in terms of the creativity that you want to put in place for your live streaming. I've covered it off. Camera, audio, stabilization, the actual software that you need to use, the kind of hardware that you might consider using. I'm not a frequent live streamer, and there's certainly more qualified live streamers out there. Why don't you let me know what you think? Leave a comment down below, especially if you are a live streamer. If you're somebody that does a lot of live streaming, what's the kit that you use? What's the kind of equipment that you use? I mean, if I'm doing a live stream for a corporate gig, those guys, they take it up a step from this and actually use proprietary hardware and software. Very different story altogether. But for an average YouTuber or a Facebooker or a Twitch user, whatever the case might be, what do you use? What do you suggest? Let's help one another out in terms of getting great live streamed content out there. Does that sound good? And on that note, I'm going to finish up for today. This is Shane from Waiting to Be Seen. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you've enjoyed today's video, give me a thumbs up down below. And if you think that content such as this might be of use to you now and into the future, then why not consider subscribing to my channel, Waiting to Be Seen, today. Click on the big red subscribe button down below. Click on the notification bell right alongside that, and YouTube, they will do the rest, especially if you say that you're interested in getting all of the notifications and not just the highlights, because man, then you get everything. As soon as my content drops, you're gonna know, and you're gonna be the first to know. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Thanks again so much for stopping by. I hope you have a fantastic Friday. Hope the weekend looks brilliant for you. Hope the week to come is looking pretty decent as well. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time for even more content here at Waiting to Be Seen. See you guys. Bye.
That's gonna leave a mark.
What?
Do you want tissue? Look at this horrid sweat.
Do you want the fan?
No, because it's not going to be any good for you guys, is it? That was my wife. I might put that at the very end as a B-roll blooper.